Trump sycophant and very influential radio host Charlie Kirk finally figured out how to really win the women's vote for Republicans. Here he is talking to conservative college women.
We've basically told a great generation of young women, don't get married, don't have kids, go get a corporate job, and it's created mass political hysteria. And then in their early 30s, they get really upset because they say, you know, the boys don't want to date me anymore because they're not at their prime. And people get mad when I say that. Well, it's just true.
That must have been the wrong clip where he was trying to charm everybody. So I think we have another one.
A lot of them are on birth control, too. And birth control, like, really screws up female brains, by the way.
Oh, and there are more. Batya Ungar-Sargon's here, opinion editor of Newsweek, author of the best book out this month. It's called Second Class: How the Elites Betrayed America's Working Men and Women. It is good to see you. Charlie's a real charmer, isn't he?
I actually like Charlie. I think he's doing a really important thing, which is trying to make conservatism look cool to a younger generation, which is, you know, God's work. Whether you're a liberal or conservative, young people should have a choice, right? They shouldn't all be funneled into the woke paradigm. I do think he's wrong. I mean, I don't hear a lot of women complaining that, you know, men don't want to date them. There is a coming sexual apocalypse, though, and it's this, Leland. More women are going to college, and when women go to college, they become very liberal, as opposed to men who kind of, when they go to college, they become, you know, slightly more liberal or remain conservative. And liberal women, very liberal women, no longer want to date conservative men. And so when that gap starts to grow and grow and grow, and there's a lot of very liberal women who don't want to date conservative men, there's going to be a shrinking pool for them to choose from. And then we're going to start seeing real problems. But the data suggests that it's much harder for men right now in the dating market, and that men who can't find a partner are much more unhappy than women who can't find a partner. So I kind of disagree with Charlie's analysis there.
Yeah, I also just sort of think in terms of this weird misogyny that's entered into sort of the Charlie Kirk wing of the Republican Party. But the book that you've written, and it's phenomenal, Class Divide in America, as ill-phrased as what Kirk was saying, there is this notion, right, of the elites betraying a certain population in America. And I'm wondering if at the root of it, that's what he was getting at.
I think so. I mean, I think this idea that the family having a monogamous relationship that begins when you're young, in your 20s, and carries through your life, that idea is very much sneered upon by a certain kind of leftist elite that controls the culture right now in a big way. And a lot of working class people get the trickle-down effects of that. We're seeing the breakdown of the family, and that has both spiritual and psychological and massive economic repercussions, which are very negative to the working class. So children being born out of wedlock, for example, they face a lot of downward mobility, a lot of pressures, and that's terrible. And so we should be encouraging people to get married, both for spiritual and for economic reasons.
Look, it's the worst thing, right, that can happen to a kid almost in terms of predicting their outcome is to be from a single-parent household. It's just it's not a statement of feeling. It's a statement of fact. Second Class: How the Elites Betrayed America's Working Men and Women. You talk about a class divide, and I'm wondering how much the class divide in a way mirrors the values divide, right? If you have a working class versus elite divide, how much that mirrors the traditional values versus progressive values divide.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, since Marx, the leftist elites have been complaining that the working class is too conservative for where they want them to be. Like, they want them to support revolution. They don't. All they want are the most modest hallmarks of a middle-class life: a family, a home, a retirement and dignity, choices for their children, right? Whereas the leftists are often involved in these very heady, very extreme wars on these very institutions, the institution of marriage, for example. There's a big divide there.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.